Hello, and welcome to Thursday Night Talk. This is a show where we discuss the week in Humboldt, local issues, and the local personalities with local personalities. I'm Talvi Fried, your local host for the next hour. A summer of fun awaits, and the world is your oyster. That's right, Oysterfest is coming up. Humboldt County has so many fun festivals and is the home to gatherings all throughout summer. It's hard to make a decision of where you're going to go, so you may as well just go to all of them. Here to help you narrow down the possibilities and figure out what you want to do and how to go through it all safely, happily, and within compliance of all the legal parts of it all. We've got Nick Bown-Crawford, Executive Director for Humboldt Made and organizer of Eureka's Friday Night Market, Carly Tambling from Bright and Green, Waste Manager for Oysterfest, Ferry Festival, and a few other events that happen on the Arcata Plaza. If you have questions for our guest tonight, please text the number 707-498-4146. Again, that's 707-498-4146. Feel free to text whatever you want because my producer will be filtering that. So have fun. All right, everyone, welcome. Hi, Nick.
Hi there.
I think Carly's getting settled. My voice is festivaled out. I know you've been working hard. Friday Night Market has been in very full swing.
Off to an awesome start for the season. We're coming up on our third one so far. So, yeah.
Which is awesome. We were talking just before the show, and I think this is kind of an interesting question to bring up because it does seem like every single weekend is so packed. There are so many different events happening, and it feels like a lot of them are literally overlapping with each other. Like, I feel like I go to the Friday Night Market, and then there's also another event happening at the same time as part of it, but not part of it. I'm just like, okay, is that, but everything's so packed. There's so many humans out there, and what's the psychology behind that of so many events all the time?
Sure. So it's definitely, that is kind of ingrained in our culture here in Humboldt. So I was born and raised here, and that's kind of always been the summertime culture. It's like there's always something beautiful and big to do out on the weekends, especially like outside. And that's really kind of the big focus are these big outside events here in Humboldt because we only get, this like handful of sunny weekends out of the year. And so it's really just kind of all about like capitalizing on that and like bringing our community together. We have all these like kind of dark and dreary winter months up here, which some of us really like, including myself, but it keeps us all inside and away from each other. And so we kind of have these big like annual awakenings where we're all out and about and around each other. And that's really what it's all about. And kind of these like what you were talking about, these events that are kind of seemingly back to back and stuff like that. It's all about just kind of, we do have a lot of people that attend all of these things back to back, but it's really just providing these different opportunities and environments so that everybody can come out and enjoy something. And at Friday Night Market, it's kind of seems like there's multiple events happening all in the same space, and that's definitely by design, right? So it's so that we're really trying to just provide space for anyone and everybody. And this year we have a skate park that we've built out, and with Eureka Skate Park Collective, and we have a farmers market and 3 stages. And so yeah, it's just kind of like, the more dynamic we can get with it, the more we can really appeal and engage with our community.
So I know one of your specialties, yes, you're an amazing organizer for events and putting them on, though you also do deal with disaster and emergency situations. And I just see the world like that. Perhaps it's, a Humboldt thing, though, in case of zombie apocalypse, how do you make it through, Eureka Friday Night Market? And what do you need in case of those situations happening? Because it's such a big place with so many different people and different personalities, different vibes of life, all melting together really well. Though, what if something happens and somebody doesn't know where to go if a zombie starts biting their friend?
So yeah, so I think, that's all, there's so much like coordination that goes on behind the scenes. And, I start planning Friday night markets about a month after they end. And so it's just kind of this like annual conversation with all of our stakeholders that are involved. We start training our volunteers really early so that we can really identify when these issues are starting to happen within the crowd or with somebody just individually that might need our assistance so that they know exactly where to go to and to find one of our volunteers that's in a bright vest. And, we're engaging with local businesses surrounding in the area so that they have all the tools necessary to help anybody in an incident as well. We have public safety that's circulating around. We have an awesome working relationship with Eureka Police Department. That's also their opportunity to kind of just be on the ground and interact with the community in a setting that they don't really get that often. And
Right.
all right, so yeah, we really kind of like we're really have like a pretty incident-free environment. And it's like, I think that's due in large part to that we just really try hard to foster this like super positive environment at Friday night markets. But we do take a lot of precautions, and a lot of those precautions are happening kind of behind the curtain, that people aren't really seeing. We do Narcan training like beforehand, before the season every year, so that like all of our volunteers are prepared for that, to administer that. We want people to have fun, but not too much fun, obviously. And we want everybody to have fun.
Yeah, we want people to have fun throughout the whole year, not just on one night, which since you brought up Narcan, people aren't really aware of what it is. They think you just stick it up somebody's nose and they're better. That's not the case. Would you like to explain it to everyone? You're the guest here.
Sure. So like I am not like a like total like, expert on it. So this is kind of like this is a medication that's administered. It is a nasal medication, and it is for somebody that is in process of overdosing on there's a myriad of drugs that this can like counteract. And so this helps kind of reverse that overdose process. It's not a pleasant experience, but it's a lot better than the alternative, right? And so you're really buying time for this individual, and that's allowing time for EMS individuals to arrive on the scene and continue the care professionally and to take them to a hospital or emergency room.
And one of my favorite lessons to try to impart upon people for emergency services, if somebody has it, let them have it, because there's going to be a lot of people trained who will let you know. Please don't try to grab people, shake them awake. No, it's really scary when things happen to friends, but let the people do what they're trained for.
Yeah,
On
and
a
it does, and it's a really like beautiful, Narcan's a beautiful kind of drug that's now like available very widely on the market, and training is super accessible for anybody who wants to be trained in the community on it. I personally, even when I'm not managing, a crowd of 10,000 people, when I'm just like walking down the street going to dinner, I have it in my bag. And that is like, this is a tool of being a good Samaritan in society. And like, if you could have the opportunity to save somebody's life, my philosophy is like, why not, so there are some things like you were saying, like when you do administer it, like there are a couple minutes that elapse, like for it to take effect. It's not instantaneous like smelling salts, but so in that like 2 to 3 minutes where you're waiting for it to really kind of kick in, that can also feel like, a very long time. And so you are correct. Like you are not supposed to be shaking this person or trying to slap them awake. That is not part of the process at all.
And sometimes it's much better to take a few steps back because that person's suddenly about to go into literally pure extreme withdrawal, which not everyone is aware that that can be a really dangerous situation to people around them. So,
Absolutely. And
yeah.
the second most important step to administering it is calling 911. And there's I think one of the larger misconceptions about the administration of Narcan is that somebody has to be breathing in order for you to administer it. That is not true. If somebody is not breathing, you can still administer the nasal spray and it will still activate within their system.
So on a more fun note, hi Carly, let's talk about some waste management here because this is one of my biggest pet peeves is when people just throw things on the ground or they don't know the proper place to dispose of items or things like that. And Carly, you're the absolute expert here, so
And I'm still learning as well. We're all still learning, but the education side of it is a huge part of it. But events are some of the biggest waste producing days that we have. So this is one of the biggest waste producing times of the year with all the events going on. And events are generally just designed to be single use, like eat and throw away, drink and throw away, and then you get another drink and you throw it away, and then you get another drink, and you get another food, you get a new fork, and it all goes to the landfill. Unless you're composting or unless you're recycling and actually putting recyclables and sorting it out, because if everything gets put together and there's contamination, it doesn't get recycled. But I would say that composting is a huge part of my waste reduction management that I bring into a lot of events. And the
you were
local
working
guy is a huge reason why I got into all this in the first place.
you were working really hard at Fairy Fest, to the point that I was like, you are organizing things in ways I'm not sure I've actually seen, except at, like the really big hippie festivals. So it was interesting to be like, wow, we're becoming a like, super hippied out. So I noticed, and it's been around for a couple years and at a few different events where there's the three bins and then the compost separate from that. So I guess now there's four bins. Can you explain that to everybody just
A
so they
Fairy
know
Fest
where
was
we
the first time I threw in a CRV bin like on the plaza. I was very excited to do that. And yeah, so with the basic bins are trash, which generally should be the smallest as long as you get things coordinated ahead of time, make sure that everything you're buying is locally compostable. Second is recycling. And third would be compost, and then we have the CRV was the fourth one this year for Fairy Fest. And the like I said, the local worm guy is one of the biggest reasons that I got into this because he's able to compost more than most people can. More than your backyard system, more than a lot of industrial composting facilities can as well, because he can take bones, he can take dairy, milk, up to a certain amount of grease, I guess, and meat even. So he's able to take absolutely everything. So it makes it really easy for us to just throw everything into the compost bin. As far as recyclables go, I'm trying really hard to ban all single-use plastic. Most of it kind of leaches into our drinks, so it's not very safe to drink out of in general. And then glass is just a little bit too dangerous for large events. So we don't have a lot of that at bigger events, but that can usually get recycled. And we're very lucky to have Hambro Recycling Center back on Samoa, so we can actually get some money. And I don't really even have to touch much of the CRV at the events because at this point, because my hands are full and sometimes I underestimate the size of events like Fairy Festival and but the community has actually taken on a lot of the CRV, so it just kind of disappears by the end of the day. That's been really good.
Which is awesome. What does, because Oysterfest is coming up in 2 days. What is that going to look like? And what is not compostable? Because sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm doing the right thing. And then somebody is like, that's not right. I'm like, ah.
Depends where it's going. And the biggest thing that we're doing this year is bioplastics. Bioplastics, generally speaking, are not locally compostable. And this is kind of new news that we're just discovering right now. Having spent many years with this bioplastic, trying to compost it over and over again in these commercial and industrial facilities and in our backyards. And it just isn't breaking down, and it might even just be breaking down into micro bioplastic, which isn't organic and doesn't add any value to our local land. And obviously chemicals, plastic, foil, metals, anything that you wouldn't necessarily ingest or want your plants growing around.
That makes a lot of sense.
Species that can grow bacteria in it too. Like,
So
don't
last
throw your dog
year,
poop in there.
yeah, last year, I guess maybe we'll take our break now and get into this. There was a little bit of controversy with our reusable cups not being delivered to Oysterfest. So I'm wondering what the plan is this year. And we will be right back in just a few seconds right here on Thursday Night Talk. Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to KZZH 96.7 FM LP, something like that. I'm Talvi Fried, your local host, and we are diving deep into the festy season. And it's not just summer festivals, it's also kind of what events, the behind the scenes of events, I suppose, in Humboldt County, because we are a community that loves to party so much. Got Nick Bown-Crawford from Eureka Friday Night Markets, amongst many other events, and Carly Tambling as well. We are kind of discussing the waste management portion of matters. And last year there was an iffy situation with Oysterfest where our reusable cups didn't make it. There was a huge shipping issue. And so we used plastic cups, which I know everybody in Humboldt is just like, boo. So what is the plan for this year? Pretend I don't know.
This year we're gonna use the cups that came in just one day late to the Oyster Festival last year. They're aluminum cups, so they are reusable and recyclable, and they have an Oyster Festival logo on them that can be used next year as well, in case we don't use them all.
Well, here's one of mine from my dog's toothbrush. It's kind of gross, but let's see. This is like, it's gonna look something similar to that for those of people on. It's a big metal cup, essentially. But that one's from 2016. It's a very similar looking one this year. And then there are also the wine cups, which I have been told that you can reuse them at Crabs games as well, which is awesome.
Yes, and that's from Tossware. So they're actually made out of at least 4 plastic water bottles as well. They're upcycled cups.
Love the upcycling. Because sometimes I'm like, plastics are just kind of not cool, though it already exists on the planet.
So why not keep using the plastic that we already have and stop making plastic for new stuff and throwing all the plastic that we already do have into landfill?
You said it. What a concept. Nick, every time that I've eaten at Friday night market or had food brought to me, which I love when people do that, just saying if anybody's listening out there and sees me, just bring me food. No, kidding. Or not kidding. Though everything has been given to me in paper. I don't think I've seen actually any real plastic. Maybe the cups at Friday night market, which I still think that's a huge improvement.
Yeah, we have so we're like, and we are one of the larger events by cumulative attendance. So, last year it was about, over 120,000 people came to Friday night markets. And it's like we also have to work alongside with the city government in terms of like what their event policies are. We're also open container alcohol. So that means we also have to work in line with the ABC office's regulations out of Sacramento. But what we can do is we can institute our own internal policies. And so last year we started our like no single-use plastics, no styrofoam policies. So everything has to be served in paper, and everything also, there's no plastic silverware allowed to be used as well. So we made that shift last year, and we're really continuing to enforce it this year, and we have a lot of food vendors. So with 45 food vendors, that has the potential to be producing a lot of plastic waste. So like we're really focusing on them to eliminate that waste, going down to paper, and excited to start working with folks like Carly in the future and starting to implement that. With our cups, it's a little, we're still figuring that one out. We're obligated, since it is such a large open container footprint, and there's multiple kind of line of sights that are going on that go into alcohol control. We're obligated to serve in clear plastic or clear containers is what it is. And so we've got some proposals that we're putting on the table currently. And, so I think with some like proof of concept with what some superheroes like Carly are doing in neighboring cities like Arcata, I think we can then take this proof of concept to other places like Eureka and beyond, and really kind of shift the way that we're doing things. Because it's true, like, events are, I am a event producer, and I will always admit that we are a massive waste producer. And that is like, we produce a lot of fun and we produce a lot of waste. And so I think it's kind of like anything that we can look at. And then also, looking at like how does State Bill 1383 come into play, which is like largely this large state bill that is very much like laser focused on like, organic waste diversion from the landfills and overall just kind of like waste reduction. And there are very specific things in this state bill that point to large scale events. And so yeah, it's like the landscape is shifting, and we're super excited to just kind of go along for the ride and do what we can. And we don't see any, I've never had any pushback from anybody that's been upset because they didn't get a plastic fork or a plastic bag or something like that. We're seeing a little bit more of people actually bringing their own containers to Friday night markets, we have such a large amount of food vendors that people will bring like multiple Tupperwares, and I guess just kind of like meal prep at Friday night market for the week, which is
I love this.
but I'm here for it. It's like I don't have time to meal prep either, so it's a great idea. But and you know, we do allow people to bring their own drinking vessels to our bars, and we will serve them in their own cup too.
Do they have to be clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, we
yeah.
did, bringing up one of my favorite topics ever is alcohol management at events. You are in for a doozy. I know I'm in for a doozy. Full disclosure, I run the beer booths and everything for Oysterfest, and which means dealing with all of the ABC laws, making sure that there's at least a few volunteers directly under me that have their RBS license or responsible beverage service credentials. Though it's a lot, and you're dealing with that are things in line of sight. There are people going into shops, and I love all the shop owners, and I have never, ever seen them do anything like maybe pour something into their own cup, and it's still, it becomes really difficult to manage, and the laws are very, very, very strict, especially with an event like Oysterfest, which has eyes on it. There's, I'm on social media and I've realized I've just got to stop. I can't make everyone happy. And I see somebody, people talking about, oh, 4 years ago there was an underage person that got caught drinking. And I'm like, yes. And then love Humboldt County because we put it on the news about how terrible that is, that one of our precious babies got away with drinking and somehow managed to get a wristband. And it's still rough, and that can be a huge fine for every event. Not only that, there's people who sometimes get a little excited and forget to be healthy. So perhaps we can go into a little bit of what is healthy enjoyment of a beverage? What does that look like, and what does that mean for the community and for people?
Yeah, totally. And I think kind of, and there is a big difference of opinions, should there even be alcohol at community events? And kind of one of the really important things that I do always remind folks of. So at Friday night markets and a lot of our local events do the same thing. Like, we exclusively only serve locally produced beverages. So everything that we're pouring behind the bar comes out of Humboldt County. And so we're like really specific on that. And because of that, we are some of our local breweries and distilleries like largest accounts annually. And so we're really able to like be that economic driver for these like small businesses. The alcohol management and like, the risk mitigation and the liability that's attached to it's big, and it's very serious. Alcohol is a very serious substance that you're playing with. And so there's lots of systems that we build into place. There's the obvious like carding and wristbanding everybody, so that, and we have multiple ID checks that happen. We are also like, we control the amount of drinks that people are allowed to have from our own bars. And so we limit the amount of drinks. And then our entire staff is trained on being able to identify when somebody is intoxicated. If I do identify somebody out in the crowd that is overly intoxicated, they are immediately asked to leave, because they are not only posing a risk to themselves, but other people at that point. And
How do you deal with the amount of people who the event ends? There's sometimes people that are tipsy that, they are like, oh, the event is over, and they get that mindset of, I need to go somewhere.
So that's
Transportation.
it's kind of the beauty of like us being like right in, the heart of Old Town, because, it's a little different than if we were throwing this, Eureka Friday Night Markets and it was, out in the hills somewhere, and
Right.
the expectation was for everybody to, like drive 20 miles home, right? So like what our real kind of like goal is that, and lots of the shops and businesses and restaurants, they stay open late for Friday night markets. So there are places for people to go and be, and whether that's to continue their night or to cool off in the bookstore, a little bit, like, there's opportunities for them to do so. We do, like, I think every Friday, the opportunities come up at the end of the night where it's usually like 5 or 6 people. I'm helping find them ways to get home and get home safely. And it's, when they are at my event, they are my responsibility, and I take that very seriously.
Awesome. that's that's all that can be done. I do like I live near Old Town. I can just walk home. That is a big issue with some of the other events, especially ones. Well, and a lot of the events are multi-day camping situations. It's not very common for people to be like, yeah, you have to leave because you've done something so horrible. And usually there's an escort that, are trained to escort them to the county jail or something if they really have done something that badly. In a typical way, it's you identify and, have that cool down period. Though there's events such as Oysterfest where there are a lot of people coming from all around the county. Not all of them are living there. Hotels get filled up very, very quickly. And so that, the creation of like the bus system for people to go to parking lots, carpools, all of that. My friends have started driving for there's a few different ride share services out here, and my friends are making bank this summer doing it. So they've told me, which is great because it's a high cost of living area. And they're doing a good thing by getting people where they need to be safely. So I think that's just what I'm trying to help reiterate is everyone get home safely.
Yeah, and we provide like water to folks, and that is like water to me is a free commodity. So like if somebody needs water, I'm going to give them water, and a lot of times it's encouraging them to need the water. But it's really also like it's just a big general reminder to all of our participants that are coming to these events. Like, we want folks to have fun. We also want you to buy booze, because more often than not, like when you are purchasing alcohol at events, these licenses were secured by nonprofits, because that is the most common way that alcohol licenses for events like go. And so these nonprofits are the ones that are like generating the income from this bar sale, and then that's just going straight back into the community, right? So like it's a great thing to like have this alcohol available at events, but that also comes with some responsibility from the community to not treat it as an opportunity to, head down to Old Town and just get totally trashed in front of a bunch of families at the gazebo. It's being like responsible is also fun. And so it's like, there are lots of that's why we layer in so many other things to do at our events. You can go to the skate park. We have over 200 vendors that you can visit. There's a farmer's market, there's stages. So it's not just about drinking for us. It's like, it's all these other things plus grab a drink. So that's kind of what I encourage people to utilize it for.
I love that. I don't know if Carly has anything. Do you have anything about alcohol management? I think you're more like Oysterfest is happening and we are getting oysters. And I'm curious what happens with the oyster shells and everything, because that's a lot. I remember one year, back when Nancy Stevenson was running it, they all ended up in all the planters all around the city. And I think some of them even ended up in like Eureka City planters with permission from the city. And I thought that was a great idea because that just allowed them to break down. It looked nice. They didn't actually smell bad. So important part there. It didn't smell bad, even though there were oyster shells everywhere.
Yeah, we've gotten creative in the past too. They've gone to the city's community forest before. I think the other year they went to the Humboldt-based social club, took them as well. When I popped on, it was kind of difficult. It wasn't hard to find somebody who wanted to take them, but it was costly to be able to transport them and manage them and sort them out of the system and like educating. And then yeah, you got to get a truck to bring them to the location as well. And that ended up being super costly. So what we started doing is just giving it all to the local worm guy. He accepts a lot of stuff, including oyster shells. And it's going to make our job extra easy as educators for all the attendees to be able to say anything organic gets to go to the local worm guy. Vermiculture is an incredible way of composting, and it's a cool way for people to learn that this system is superior to even industrial and commercial composting systems. That's what we're going to do with it. But also, that being said, I've told people who've asked me about this, who want to take the oyster shells, I say, take them. It's community gold. If you crush them up, somebody could create a business out of this. We've had Oysterfest for 34 years now, and nobody's turned it into a business to collect the oyster shells once a year, crush them, and sell them. It's gold.
Well, note for anybody who's feeling industrious and wants to become an entrepreneur of crushed shells.
There is money in trash. Well, there's a lot of money in trash. We just gotta do the right stuff with it.
I'm surprised the city doesn't want to be involved in that then. As soon as you put like, oh, this can bring in a lot of money, suddenly they're interested. But I guess it's often a proof concept and somebody has to be there to manage it.
They would have to buy it, you have to crush it, and so it does take resources to crush. I think as soon as you crush or you shred stuff, you're adding value to it, because then it breaks down and it adds value to the nutrients and can go to the soil. But as a full shell, it's a long-term investment that they're making to add the nutrients to the community forest, at least. And Humboldt-based social club, it's just pretty and also good for them.
So, totally random, but people started, I saw them, I don't know who they are, but they started like kind of paragliding out at the social club, which is exciting, though we are about ready for our break. So what a great transition point into all the fun of events. We will get to that. Not that recycling isn't fun. Your dream world is like my nightmare. I hate dealing with trash stuff. I'm so glad you exist to deal with it. I'd rather deal with like 50 drunk angry hippies that just got cut off than sort trash. So there's different personalities out there for every job in Humboldt. That's why we make a community. We'll be right back. This is Thursday Night Talk. Welcome back, everyone, to Thursday Night Talk. I'm here with Nick Bown-Crawford, who runs Eureka Friday Night Market, as well as organizes several other events. Carly Tambling, waste management extraordinaire, does the job that not everybody would want to do.
I gotta respond to that because I think that one thing that we can all relate to is nobody wants to wake up first thing in the morning and do emails and get calls throughout the day and have the long, never-ending list of to-do that all of us have as event people. That or all of that work that we put into it, nobody really wants to do it. We know how hard it is to get volunteers together and to get help and even just pull in our own friends and family into the whole process and stuff. It's hard, but it's the reward. It's the community. It's the reduction of waste and the smiles on people's faces to know that they're adding value to the community by doing this the right way. So anyway,
There are definitely a lot of rewards, which let's start talking about the fun part of events then. We've gotten through all the stuff that nobody likes to think about, but I guess that's why organizers exist and people who are just like, yeah, that's the dirty job. I'll do that one. You do that one. And we'll help everyone just have a good time. So what are all the good times people are going to be having this year?
So, I mean, Friday night markets, plug. So this year we're published to go to the end of August, so August 30th. Might be some bonus weeks in there after that, but to be decided. We'll let that be a surprise. But there's a ton of other stuff coming up too. The Oysterfest is obviously coming up this weekend. So you can, come to Friday night markets and then you can go to Oysterfest the next day. Yeah, Redwood Acres Fair is coming up. Humboldt County Fair is coming up. We have North Country Fair, Reggae on the River's coming back, Northern Nights. It's just kind of going. It's our normal, just kind of like amazing run of events. So it's we're seeing this kind of cool increase of use of business district spaces. So you see like Henderson Center with their farmers market and what I'm doing down in Old Town, and then you've got Arts Alive in Old Town, the 4th of July Festival in Old Town. And same thing kind of in Arcata, you see this great kind of use of the plaza that's just kind of continuing to ramp up. And I think this is just kind of an awesome momentum that we're just going to kind of see continue year over year. But yeah, summer's just starting and there's a lot of cool stuff on the horizon. And I hear that Talvi's going to be at just about every one of them too. So if you want a celebrity photo, like
oh gosh, yeah. Oh, how about me? Make sure I stay hydrated before those photos start happening. Nothing like I'm one of those. Oh, that's something that we didn't even. Don't let me forget about doggies. That's everybody's favorite. That's everybody's favorite. Though I'm very heat sensitive, so I actually there are events that I work that are daytime, though I tend to do overnight shifts because if it's over 100 degrees, I really just can't deal with that. And heat stroke's a huge issue in the summertime at different events, especially, you're having a few beers, a few salty oysters, you forget to stay hydrated. And so just everybody wear sunscreen. If you don't like sunscreen, that's okay. At least bring a hat. Though protect yourself. It's very important. It's hard to have fun if you're like under a shade tree, with a medic being like, "Are you okay?" Which it happens to legitimately everybody. Everybody down the ranks has had a day where it's just the exhaustion hits them. So make sure to do self-care, lots and lots of self-care. And if you need a day to just rest, I mean, assuming you're not on shift or something, but by all means, rest. Go a little softer that day. Only dance to 5 songs instead of the entire 3-hour set. Though let's get to dogs because I love doggies. I love when my dog can go with me. I know Nick, the city of Eureka has different policies than Arcata. So what is up with Friday night market and doggies?
Yeah, so we have a open door policy for dogs, and we do have some requirements that come with that, though. So we do require that dogs are well socialized to not only other dogs but to humans as well. And all dogs must be kept on a short leash so that you can quickly control your dog should something happen. There is probably at least once a night, I do have to ask a dog owner to excuse themselves. I rarely think it is, like I try not to make it the dog's fault. They're this precious little animal that's tethered to a leash around their neck. So it's a lot of times, it's just kind of they've been brought into the wrong situation at the wrong time. And so if we love having dogs at Friday night markets. And there's kind of like, if you look through Instagram, there's a lot of people that just post photos of the dogs that they see at Friday night markets, which is great. I'm happy to provide that. But we do just ask that people be respectful because we are a very crowded environment. And the first thing that pops into my head is concern that the animal is going to get stressed out. And so we not only look for aggressive behavior, but we'd also look for like signs that animals may be stressed out. And we ask that the owners step to a quieter space or step off of the event footprint with their animal. But we have dogs that come, we have birds in backpacks that come. Last week we had a pair of bunnies that came. So we kind of get like a lot of different animals that come to Friday night markets. I think that's kind of the fun aspect of it. In Old Town, there's a lot more kind of like, it is a big footprint, so it's 8 blocks. So there's a lot more opportunities for folks to kind of, like dip into a side street and, have some quiet time with their dog. But the biggest thing is just, ensuring that your dog is like prepared psychologically to go to Friday night markets, and that you as the owner are prepared to, leave if need be with your dog in a moment's notice. Also bring dog bags. My lovely smile that I'm wearing right now will disappear if you don't clean up after your dog. And so yeah, that's really kind of the main part of it. We don't do breed restrictions and stuff like that. It's really just like we want to make sure that your dog is having a just as good of a time as you are.
Awesome, which that is one of the rare events, and probably because there are so many people that do live in Old Town, it's kind of hard to ban dogs. Like, no, you have to stay in your apartment when you live. My apartment isn't my apartment, that's my dog's apartment, and she's allowed to be in the yard if she has to do something. So I imagine if people live in the city, that makes sense. It's one of the few events where dogs are allowed. So just a reminder to people, no dogs at Northern Nights. I believe there's no dogs at Reggae. No dogs on the plaza. There's very few events during the year that they are allowed there, and that is usually because Sequoia Humane Society or I forget the big doggy sculpture's name from the Connecticut Grand Championship, but they've made an agreement with the city to allow that to help find all these orphan, or maybe not orphan dogs. What do we call them? Adoptable dogs. Find them homes. So I think Kinetics might be the actual only event in Humboldt that's considered a festival that dogs are allowed at other than Friday night market. So if you're a dog person, I think Eureka Friday night market and maybe Arts Alive.
Arts Alive too, yeah. And I will also add in, so at Friday night markets, we partner with North Coast Growers Association, and they have a farmers market block, and it's identified with signs. And so that's on E Street between 3rd and 2nd. So that is the only area where dogs are not allowed because it is a USDA certified farmers market. So that is a certified farmers market code, because there is like raw food and vegetables that are being sold there. So that is the only space where dogs are not allowed at Friday night markets. But you got 7 other blocks to work with.
Which, Carly, is there a, because I feel terrible. I do use a lot of little plastic poop bags for my dog. Is there some sort of better way to deal with that? Just as a concept in the future, maybe not right now. I do try to get the biodegradable baggies, but again, that's just might turn into microplastics.
I know. I think that the biodegradable ones are your best bet. Like I said, like there's just not any options for us right now. Unless you want to bring like a little poop bucket with you everywhere and a pooper scooper and dump it out and clean it and stuff, like a reusable thing like that. Unless there's like a little pooper scooper in like every city park or something that you could just dump in so we don't have to use any liner. But the biodegradable bags are probably the most biodegradable marked thing out there that has the best chance of actually degrading back into organic stuff again. But just no guarantees. And I'm no expert.
Oh, good to know. I'm glad we covered the doggy part because I love dogs. They make everything better. If I can talk about them forever, I would. We are in the last 10 minutes, so I kind of want you two to have a few minutes to just riff on whatever you want people listening or watching on TV on Channel 12 to take with them and what you want them to walk away from. So Carly, I'm going to let you start first, and you've just got, maybe like 3-ish minutes.
I will pop out and say Oysterfest is also one of the big reasons that I started doing what I do. It used to be one of the biggest waste producing events on the plaza, and it is now the biggest composting event on the plaza. And I hope to, like Nick said, just make this an example and let everyone else continue with the example. However it ends up happening, it's the way to go. Compost, reuse, bring your own cup when you go to a festival. Number 1, 2, and don't stop there. Bring your own plate and fork and napkin and bring it back home and wash your dishes. That's the best way to do. Pack in, pack out, just like a happy camper.
What events that you're not working at are you looking forward to this year?
Me?
Are you not working any events? Do you even have us? Do any of us have a single weekend?
I gotta Reggae on the River, super excited for that. I think that'll be, and Northern Lights. There we go.
Northern Nights.
Northern Lights.
That one's one of my favorite musically. It's fun. So Nick, anything you want people to take with them as after they've listened to the show or before they go to Friday night market or any events?
Yeah, I mean, kind of piggybacking on what Carly was saying, like you don't have to wait for the event to be like doing the right thing when it comes to waste management too. Like these are all things that every like participant can also do on their own. So, and it really does take this like collective action, right? So like moving in a direction where Carly doesn't need to be standing at the trash cans, like directing people where to put stuff in, right? So like that's the end goal. So I think everybody just needs to pitch in, kind of in line with that like get involved kind of mentality. One of the biggest things that we're seeing kind of as a struggle from the event production side is getting volunteers to participate. And volunteers, we've seen just across the board, every other event manager and producer that I talk to, this is a struggle. And so when you do see these like ads, posts come up on your social media of like volunteers needed, like really they're only asking for more often than not like an hour, and typically there's an incentive, like they'll buy you a beer or a meal or you get a t-shirt, and it is like so worth it to like be in it at that level. So I really challenge everybody to like just get involved with one of your favorite local events, and it's really fun. Like you have a blast, you get to hang out with me and Carly and Talvi, and so that's what I would really ask. My kind of last plug is, Friday Night Market, just super proud of like where it is right now. And so it's every Friday in Old Town, 5:30 to 8:30. If you live in Eureka, utilize the gorgeous new bike lanes that are built and bike to the market. And like if you're in walking distance, just walk. And there's lots of parking. So just like, you may have to walk 1 or 2 blocks, but just stretch those legs before you grab that beer. And there's a nice big gravel lot by Dick Taylor. You can park there. So there's lots of opportunities. So just really looking forward to seeing
bike
everybody.
parking?
What's that?
You're actually bike parking?
So we're working on identifying more bike parking with the city. So like that's kind of the great thing about like bringing this mass into the city like week after week, is that we're able to kind of like then provide some of this lasting influence into Old Town. So bike parking is one of those. We built all these beautiful bike lanes, and now we need to like do all the other stuff that comes with like that if we want to really encourage a great biking community. So we're going to have some big like bike to the market nights where we really focus hard on that. And we'll be highlighting out all of these new bike routes in Eureka to really show people and challenge them to like bike to the market. On those nights, we'll also be providing free bike valet. And a lot of other festivals are doing that now. I think Oysterfest is going to have bike valet as well. Arcata parking can get a little messy around Oysterfest. I'm lucky I live a couple blocks away, but lucky or unlucky, it depends on when you ask me. But yeah, so no, just like consider alternate modes of transportation, like bring your own glassware, like, come out and support your community and get involved.
How do volunteers, I think this is our last question because we've all got to go. We're all busy. Our events are constant. Carly, you were right. Why do I think waking up at like 6 a.m. to like 5 missed calls because somebody had a late night thought, and they were like, oh, I need a volunteer for this, so speaking of volunteers, how do people volunteer for Friday Night Market? And then Carly, how can people volunteer for Bright and Green?
So you can reach out to Friday Night Market on any of our social media platforms. I personally run all of them. So you can like contact me at Eureka Friday Night Markets. That's on Instagram and Facebook. We're also going to be putting up some posts coming up. So just like respond to those posts when you see them go up.
If people just show up, will you accept them as volunteers?
Sure. Absolutely. Cool. Always.
That's a question a lot of people have. Carly, how do people volunteer with you?
You can sign up to volunteer. I got a Sign Up Genius account. So at brightandgreenhumboldt.com, there's a link to sign up. There's also a link to sign up at the Arcata Bay Oyster Festival website as well. And then you can also sign up with our QR code and Instagram links that we have at Bright and Green on Instagram.
Awesome. I think that is all the time that we have today. I want to thank Carly Tambling, Oyster Manager with Bright and Green, as well as Nick Bown-Crawford, who runs Eureka Friday Night Markets. I'm not getting all of the names of everything blurred in my mind. You'll see all three of us at many, many different events, and you'll probably see my producer too, though you might not be able to recognize him. Though if you do see any of us, be really kind. You can't tell my voice is completely gone at this point, and I'll try to speak loudly so everyone can hear. But please don't think that if we ever have to just be like, hey, can you put that trash in that space? We're all learning here. We're all learning. We're all part of the community. So that's all for today. Thank you, Carly. Thank you, Nick. I'm Talvi Fried. See you during the next Thursday night talk, or before then at a festy.
Thank you so much.